Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. It's been a little while since my last reading and I kind of want to say I told you so. I've had this feeling of just letting things play out. Things that my guides have been warning me about since I first started my channel. Like when I first kind of got my visions, it was because Pluto was moving through the signs. And I had this kind of big wake up call of like, hey, do you remember that big planet that was not a big planet? Some people say it's not a planet, but it has this huge effect on the world. It's like, do you remember that big slow moving planet that, switches signs every 20, 30 years or something like that, and it has a major impact on world events? And I was like, oh yeah, I should check out what that's doing. And then I was like, looking at the movement of Pluto into Aquarius and how last time Pluto was in Aquarius, which was 200 and something years ago, we had the French Revolution, the American Civil War, the Industrial Revolution. So Aquarius being this sign of people and communities and politics, but kind of like politics for the greater good kind of thing, like politics for the people. Um, and change and revolution and all these things that Aquarius kind of symbolizes. And Pluto, the planet of destruction and kind of like this feeling of kind of like death and rebirth, like we're going to destroy things to rebuild them in Aquarius. And I just knew, and I've been saying for ages, that spiritually and, according to astrology, which I know people don't believe in, but if you look at the facts, what I've been saying is happening. And so it seems very gauche to say I told you so, but it's what keeps coming up. And again, whatever I'm getting through, I'm going to say on camera. So it might be one of my guides saying, hey, told you so. In my last reading as well, I was talking about the Pope, which, to be fair, we all knew that he was unwell when I did that reading, but I remember talking about the Pope, and I specifically remember getting stuff through about volcanoes. I was getting volcanoes in Italy, and, there have been volcanoes going off in Italy. It's been all over the news. Not only that, but regionally, kind of there's been, I think, about 5 big volcanoes that have been erupting or rumbling or showing signs of activity. So again, my TikTok was kind of flooded by that about a week and a half ago, and I was like, well, there's the volcanoes. And I was seeing volcanoes in the Middle East, and you can take that symbolically if you like. But yeah, the things that I get through normally do play out. And so I was just kind of, you know, and I don't want to say that I'm being apathetic about it. I'd say it's particularly distressing because to be able to see the signs of something coming and it happens anyway, to do these readings where I'm warning about things happening and it happens anyway. I think I was hoping that particularly people that I know in America, I really wanted to warn them because, if people were able to leave, I wanted to be able to give them that early head start, to get their paperwork sorted, the passport sorted, to, I don't know, look for work overseas, if people wanted to leave, and to see people still there, which people shouldn't have to leave, right? People should be able to, stand up for the place where they live. And but I think, if people have children, I don't know, it's been really, really distressing. And, the news generally this week has been horrific. And even in that terrifying state of events that we've been seeing over the past few months kind of building to a head, within that there is light and hope. You can talk about like the freedom flotilla, with people just wanting to take aid to people who are starving and willing to risk their lives to do so. Or you can look at, LA and the people who are protecting vulnerable people in their community, and they're going out and they're dancing and singing and, showing rainbows and love and all these good things. And this is really where this is really, really supported by Pluto in Aquarius, because again, Aquarius is about the people. It is a very political sign, and it's a very socially conscious sign, and it's a very idealistic sign. So seeing these huge risings of people against governments that they view as like either corrupt or overly authoritarian, which again is all because we've had Pluto in Capricorn. It's and other planets as well corresponding to this. I think there's something like an opposition between, I think it's like Mars and Uranus at the moment, or Mars and Saturn. Again, I'm not an astronomer, right? It's not my thing, but you listen to the astronomers and what they're saying, and everything they're saying, these patterns are playing out, this kind of head to head, Mars being this kind of volatile energy. We've really seen the impact of that this week specifically. So circling back around anyway to common people, right? This is the song that keeps on coming through, and I feel like this is the song that my guides want me to lead the reading with, because I keep on hearing it everywhere I go. Common People by Pulp. I love the song. It's one of my favorite songs, and I think the sentiment that I'm being given is this very Aquarian kind of people in a community who are the common people, right? And you might want to think of common as being like the average person, the everyday person. The song itself talks about kind of living in poverty. And I remember this coming through in kind of the 90s, when we'd had a series of kind of political things in the UK that meant that a lot of people were really struggling, and so it was pivotal. I think it was kind of roughly around the time that Labour got re-elected, which was because people were sick of the Conservative government and wanted a change. And I remember this song being kind of the mood at the time of people being like, we don't feel like we were listened to, and that kind of thing. So Common People famously is about the song where he's like, I met this girl, she was from Greece and she was fancy, and I took her to a supermarket. But there's particular lines that are standing out to me. And it's, you will never understand how it feels to live your life with no meaning or control, and there's nowhere left to go. You are amazed that they exist, and they burn so bright while you can only wonder why. And then it's like, rent a flat above a shop, cut your hair and get a job, smoke some fags and play some pool, pretend you never went to school. Still, you'll never get it right, because when you're laying in bed at night watching roaches climb the wall, if you called your dad, he would stop it all, right? So it's kind of like the narrator of the song, the singer is speaking to this person who comes from a comfortable life, right? They never had to worry about money. And that doesn't mean that they had to save, they didn't have to save, or, they didn't have to kind of budget for the things they wanted to buy. But this idea of kind of you never had to worry, right, about where your next meal was coming from, or, where you were going to sleep that night, or whether you were going to be able to pay your next bill. And so for the people who this is like a daily struggle, there is this kind of rising anger. It's coming through as this almost like righteous or divine anger, which can be very destructive but also very, very powerful, against people who have it cushy. And not only people who have it cushy, but people who don't understand and are in a position where they are making the rules and the laws and the decisions that impact the people who don't have that kind of power. So it's kind of like those who have money and power and those who don't have money and power. Which again is very much obviously a theme that is happening in politics at the moment. So I'm not making this up, I'm genuinely getting these messages from my guides. There could be some stuff about supermarkets. I'm going to tell you a little anecdote today that happened to me. I was walking through the supermarket and genuinely thinking about how lucky I am that I can go and buy food for my family, and that I'm in a position where, I don't want to... Food prices are high. And I worry about how much I'm spending every single time I go to the supermarket, but I am able to afford to buy food. And I've been in positions in the past where I have not been able to buy food, and I've had to live off the scraps from the kitchen that my mum used to work at. She used to come and give me the leftover food that would have been thrown away. because she worked in a cafe. And so from going from having no money and really, really worrying about that sort of thing, or really having to prioritize where the money I did have was going, to being in a position where I'm like, people are starving in this world and I have the money to go and buy. And I'm trying to budget as well. I'm trying to, like, instead of going and buying a pizza, I've gone and bought the bread, the yogurt, because I make bread out of Greek yogurt, the cheese and the pepperoni to make pizza. But not only that, but to be able to make more pizza and make that money go further, right? So it's not like I'm kind of like flashy, spending money all over the place, like that kind of thing. I've still got to think about it, but I'm not starving and my children aren't starving and we have a roof over our heads, right? And there's people who don't have that. And so I was walking through the supermarket and near the tills, and it was really, really busy. It was packed. And there was a £10 note on the floor, and I kind of stopped and looked at it and thought, is that a £10 note? And like, nobody else was really, I mean, it was really, really busy, but nobody was like stood right next to it. Nobody looked like they were looking for it. So I picked it up and I was like, I was near the tills. So I went over to, and again, there was a queue. There was about 3 or 4 people in this queue. And I just went over to the cashier and kind of went, hey, excuse me, because I wanted to hand it in case anyone was like, hey, where's my £10 gone? Like, right, I was trying to do the right thing. And it was instinctive as well. I didn't even think about it. I was just like, oh, £10 note on the floor, someone's dropped it, I'll hand it in. And she ignored me for a good 5-10 seconds, which, 5 to 10 seconds, it isn't a long time. But when you say, hi, excuse me, quite loud, a meter away from someone, they really should be like, hey, I acknowledge you. And she ignored me. And I was like, hey, excuse me, hello. And then I went, I guess I'll keep it then, really obviously. And by this point, all the other people in the queue were looking at me. And the woman finally looked up and acknowledged me and understood that I was trying to give her money. So she was probably, she was a cashier in a supermarket. She was probably stressed out. It'd probably been a long day. She was probably like, just kind of, head down, get it done. I don't want to be mithered. Maybe she'd been mithered by other customers. But, I was like, it was rude of her to just completely blank me. And I was annoyed by it. And so, like, I'd handed in this £10. I did hand it in. I was being sarcastic when I was like, I guess I'll just keep this then. And she kind of like looked at me and I said, somebody's dropped this. And she was like, oh, and I was like, yeah, now you're friendly. But anyway, I carried on walking, carried on doing my shopping. And I was annoyed by it. And I thought, I wish I hadn't handed it in, because she's probably just going to put it in the till and it'll probably go to Mr. Supermarket owner, right? And, not make any difference. And I thought, if that was in, I could have put that into a box of nappies and really, really helped out like a young parent. And so I'm walking out and I'm thinking, there's like, one of those guide dogs near the exit. They're not a real guide dog. They're like a plastic guide dog that we have in the UK. We've had them for years. Like, I remember them from when I was a child, but they're kind of like collection boxes, like dog-sized collection boxes, with like a little coin slot in the head, and you put your spare change in. And I thought, I wish I put it in there, and then, been able to fund the training of a guide dog, rather than just getting, probably just going somewhere that it's not going to make a difference. And so I stopped and I got a £10 out of my own purse, and put it in the guide dog, because I thought, I feel like I made the wrong choice there in terms of karma and in terms of, money being spent effectively. So I think there's some kind of lesson in there. There definitely feels like there's karma involved. I don't know what Saturn's doing. I don't know if there's something going on with Capricorn, but yeah, there's big karma energy in the air. So I want to say, whatever you're doing, make sure you're being generous at this time. Make sure you are looking after the people around you. Make sure that when you are spending money, that you're spending money in a way where it's deserved. So for example, the supermarket I was in is currently my closest supermarket, because the one I usually shop at is currently closed. And it's a cheeky supermarket, this one that I was shopping in. It's overpriced. It's kind of directed at kind of older people who are kind of snobby, and yeah, I always feel ripped off. Every time I go in, I always feel like it's more expensive than it should be. Where there's another supermarket where, yeah, it's a little bit pricey, but it's a community co-op, and I just said the name of it. It's the co-op. I prefer to shop at the co-op, which in the UK is it's owned by the community, right? You can sign up to be a member of the co-op. I don't own a co-op card. I have a co-op card, and so the money that the supermarket makes is often passed back to the customers or the members, rather than it just being hogged by some greedy corporation. And so, yeah, it's kind of like, if you're going to spend your money, spend it somewhere, spend it at businesses where you agree with the morals. Don't try not to spend it on businesses where, they're funding certain things that you don't agree with. Because, yeah, the karma is counting at this time, is how I'm hearing it. There could be, with the guide dog thing, there could be something about guide dogs, or there could be something about somebody's vision or affecting somebody's vision. There could be something where I'm noticing really the smoke really, really billowing at the camera. It's like smoke, that song Smoke Gets in Your Eyes? That could be something to somebody. Smoke gets in your eyes. Right, hang on. I'm just going to pause a second and look something up. Yeah, I wanted to verify this before I said it. I might put a little clip up on the camera. It depends on how much time I've got to edit, but when I said smoke gets in your eyes, I was shown a vision of an old comedy sketch. So in the UK, there were some comedians called Morecambe and Wise. They were very, very popular. I feel like they were around maybe in like the 70s. And I remember they did a skit, and they did like singing skits sometimes where they got like famous singers on, and they did Smoke Gets in Your Eyes with Shirley Bassey. So Shirley Bassey could be relevant in some way. Also Morecambe, because it's Morecambe Beach, and I've got stuff about beaches coming through. I'll keep going. There could be something about funerals. I don't want to linger on that for too long. It was just a side note, but if it's for you, it's for you. You don't have to take everything that I'm saying in the reading. Some things could be personal for the people who are watching. Messages will come through for you, but it's a general collective reading. So I'm going to be talking about things that are going on globally, like things that are affecting all of us, but also things that we may be collectively experiencing in our personal lives. So just take what's relevant and leave anything that isn't. Everything that comes through is coming through for a reason. I know I talk very, very fast. You can slow down the time if you like. If you click on the bottom on that little cog, there's an option to slow down the speed of the video. So if you find that I talk very, very fast and you can't keep up, and you don't like that, there's an option to slow down the speed of the video there. Or you can also put subtitles on if you click the button that says CC, which is closed captions, and hopefully it'll pick up most of what I'm saying automatically and help you out with that. I'm getting a lot of stuff through about dance, especially whenever I think about the protests that are happening in LA and around America kind of generally this weekend. Whenever I kind of tune into that, I get either, if I'm listening to songs, I get songs about dancing. For example, David Bowie, Just Dance. And I keep visually seeing the scene that they keep showing me, which I haven't seen yet. When I first started to get this through, it's like I did actually see people doing kind of like a group dance in the street. Like they had all the I don't know if it was like police or military or the government response were kind of in the background, and these protesters were just dancing in the street. Literally, it was kind of like a flash mob kind of thing. But what I was specifically seeing in my vision was, and it was very, very, very beautiful, it was like professional ballroom dancers, in their kind of it was just this really gorgeous ball gown, like they've got the glitter, like the glittery corset, and then this really kind of sort of, I don't know if it was like feathery or just very flowy kind of voluminous skirt. And these two ballroom dancers were just dancing in front of the police, and it was beautiful. A bit like, as well, like I also saw at one point a ballet dancer, say like you had these protesters and you had someone doing like Swan Lake in full ballet gear. you know, and the idea of kind of like peaceful protest and doing something beautiful that is so tuned in with humanity. It kind of makes me think of like, is it Tiananmen Square, where that guy kind of stood there? Did he have like a flower and he stood there in front of all the tanks? It's kind of that thing. It's kind of like, don't meet brutality or oppression or anger or fear with like for like, right? Because it just breeds more. Look at what's happening in the Middle East right now. You know, like, you can't fight fire with fire. If you an eye for an eye and everybody goes blind, you know, that sort of thing. So it's like my guides are really, really showing me like, just dance. And it's kind of like I'm hearing, because I don't want this to be overly religious, because I think religion's causing a lot of trouble right now, and it's like, everybody just stop, chill your beans. But I'm getting both. I am the Lord of the dance, said he, and I'll lead you all wherever he may be, and I'll lead you all in the dance, said he. Dance then wherever you may be. So that could be relevant in some kind of way. But also, I've forgotten the first thing that I got, because they gave me kind of like two things at once, and I can't speak as fast as the visions come in sometimes. So it might come back round. Let me just give it a second. The sun's kind of blooming in my eyes right now. That's a sign like spirit's with me when that happens. And David danced in front of the Lord. Do you remember that TikTok where David danced in front of the Lord with all his might? And there was like a TikTok trend where you have people kind of like doing what they interpreted as the dance that David did, and they'd be doing all these like mad dances. So there's something like that. It's kind of like, if you really, really want to honor God, if you believe in God or not, or if you just want to put some good energy out into the world, like dance, especially like expressive, beautiful, interpretive dance, or like joyous dance is the way it's coming through. There could be something really, really going on with dance. On that note, next to that, I've got the note Chinese dragon head. I saw a vision of, you know, kind of when people do the Chinese dragon, with where it's like a big train of people. I saw like a Chinese dragon head, but like really close up. I don't know how that's relevant, but that's also next to Smoke Gets in Your Eyes now. Going back from common people and that theme of somebody who lacks understanding, they lack empathy, they were born with a silver spoon in the mouth, they're a bit of a twat, basically. In the UK, because we have a very class-based society, it's seen as very... Like, if you look at America, right, it's like, you've got to try hard, you've got to work hard, you've got to get your head above the rest, you know. It's kind of like a pyramid scheme of success, right? That's very, very naff in the UK. It's very uncool. Like, you will get made fun of if you're very pompous. You know, people don't like people who like to flash their money about, and people don't like people who think that they're better than everybody else. People don't like people who it's okay to be successful. If like someone's worked really hard and they're successful but humble, they will get respect. But if someone kind of works hard and they're like, well, now I'm better than you, we're like, fuck off, you know, kind of thing. So sorry, yeah, that was quite vulgar, but I'm showing you the culture. And that is culture. I have a humanities degree. If I say it's culture, it's culture. And so I wanted to get up the lyrics of Charmless Man, because I think it's really interesting. So there could also be something about Britpop, especially like 90s Britpop, because I was given a song by Pulp, Common People, and then I was given a song by Blur, Charmless Man. So this song is, I met him in a crowded room where people go to drink away their gloom. He sat me down, and so began the story of a charmless man. Educated the expensive way, he knows his claret from his Beaujolais. I think he'd like to have been Ronnie Cray, but then nature didn't make him that way. Ronnie Cray is like a gangster. And then he thinks He thinks his educated heirs and those family shares, so like stocks and shares, will protect him, that will respect him. He moves in circles of friends who just pretend they like him, and he does the same to them. And when you put it all together, that's the model of a charmless man. He knows the swingers and their cabaret. He says he can get in anywhere for free. I began to go a little cross-eyed, and so he's saying he's bored. Like, this guy's bragging and he's bored, right? He's like, right, whatever, mate, you know. And then from this charmless man, I just had to hide. So like, no one likes him because he's bragging, right? Because he's like, oh, I know everybody, I can get you into this place, you know. He's a bit of a cunt, basically. So I really like this kind of songs. I like songs that are quite liberal and quite kind of counterculture, I guess. What else do we have as well? So the next song that came through was Beautiful Beaches. I can't remember who that's by, but it's Wake Up, It's Time to Get Out of Dodge, Time to Escape. So I really wanted to get those messages through. If anyone has been like, when is it go time? When do I need to get out of here? That could be a sign for somebody. Again, I don't want to scare anybody. I don't want to be like, you have to get out now. But I think if you know in your gut that you need to get out of a certain town, or, you know, even just go on a holiday, because he says, we're racing down to those beautiful beaches. I'm also getting a lot of stuff through about Greece. Greece is mentioned in Common People. And then I got it through from somewhere else as well. I can't remember where else. There could be something specifically about Greece. One thing that was coming through with that was, I think it was a line from Common People where they say nobody likes a tourist, which makes me think of what's been happening in Spain, because Spain has been having kind of protests against kind of tourism, but it's talking about people like finding that the cost of living is rising. So people can't afford houses, people can't afford flats, the rent's really, really high. And it's because a lot of people are kind of like doing Airbnb, or, you know, there's a lot of places that are designed for tourism, and it's kind of pushing out the local people, or at least that's how the group of people protesting are feeling. Obviously, tourism brings a lot of money into the economy, but a lot of people are really getting a bit frustrated because, you know, they're struggling to live in the country that, you know, is their own. And so I've also seen this in Greece, where Greece at the moment, I'm not saying this is everywhere in Greece. I'm not saying it's kind of like, you know, this, you know, everybody feels the same, but I've seen a lot of TikToks recently about people in Greece who have been very, very frustrated and antagonistic to people from Israel. So tourists from Israel going to Greece. Greece is saying that they tend to be very rude. Again, this is not my experience. This is just what I've seen on social media. And obviously there's different points of view out there. I'm going to say that Israel's getting, they're kind of in the bad books this week. You know, there's quite a lot of people who are frustrated with that country. Yeah, I'm going to move swiftly on from that. But yeah, time to escape. Wake up, it's time to get out of Dodge. Let's get down to the beautiful beaches. Take that as it resonates, leave it if it doesn't. I also heard, because I'm clairvoyant, what's it when you can see things? Like, I get visions, I can hear things. I heard Washington, D.C., which again seems really super obvious today because of what's going on in America at the moment. Washington, D.C., I've already seen today some army veterans who were protesting. I think it was kind of like reduction in Medicaid and reduction in payments to war veterans, like you know, like pensions and things like that. I'm not 100% sure, but that's what the sign said. And they kind of like broke a barrier, and they all ran up onto the steps of a government building, which I believe was in Washington, D.C., and they sat down and started singing. So again, this was kind of a peaceful protest. They were not doing any property damage. They were not, other than pushing this fence over, right? But and one lady, bless her, it looked like the fence hit her in the head, and I was like, God, I hope she's okay. But yeah, like it wasn't violent. It was just, you know, they made a break for it and they went and sat down peacefully on these steps. So and these are army veterans, you know. So yeah, it's not for me to talk about the politics of other countries. no matter what I might feel. But the Aquarian energy that is coming through so strongly at the moment really is in support of the common people, the everyday hardworking person, not even hardworking, the people, because that's what Aquarius is like. It's like, even if, hang on, let me get my message straight on this one. Give me a second. Let me make sure there's a lot of rhetoric in the news and the media and just generally about this idea, and I think it's very American, this idea of like, if you work hard, you will be rewarded for that. And I think that old narrative is really breaking down. We can definitely see that Gen X has they're done with this narrative, because a lot of the time this narrative comes from the older population, right? Like the boomer population, where if you look at all the different statistics, if you do the math in terms of what things were like in like the 1950s, 1970s, and then like what is happening here, and you look at kind of proportionally how much people are getting paid, what inflation is like, what costs people have, how much it costs to get a mortgage, how much it costs to have a car, people like our grandparents' generation, like the older generation, they could afford to have one person working and to have the other person be like a housewife, and they'd be able to own a home and have a car. And yes, they worked hard for it. Nobody's saying that they didn't work hard. But what's happening now, Gen Z is seeing that, no matter how hard you work, you could have 4 jobs and not own a home and be struggling to pay your rent and struggling to pay your food prices. And so it's not fair. It does not feel fair. And so there's a lot of kind of anger about that. And so this old narrative of like, oh, if you just work hard, you'll have success, is now being seen as being untrue. And a lot of people are kind of like protesting that in itself. Like, I am not going to have more if I work harder, so I want to enjoy my life. There's that thing that people are saying where it's like, I woke up, I realized I have free will, and I'm spending it in the park eating an ice cream. I'm spending it walking through the forest with my children. People are like, this, I only have this one life, and I don't want to spend it working myself to bare knuckles just so the rich can keep getting richer and I still don't have anything after 30 years of working. So yeah. Like I even saw something about pensions, like people boycotting a certain pension company this week because the profits have been funding a certain group that they really, really didn't want to support. So again, it's kind of like, who's benefiting from us being stressed out and overworked and underpaid, and it's about time, I think, that some things were equaled out, and Pluto in Aquarius is really, really going to help with that. You can even see this in terms of, I was talking about the stock market, I think, recently as well, in one of my readings, where I was saying I wouldn't like to be the 1% right now, because if Pluto in Aquarius is talking about like another French Revolution, right, another civil war, you're talking about heads rolling. Look at what happened during the French Revolution, right? Look at what happened to the 1%. So I was saying I wouldn't want to be the 1% right now, because they basically have a target on their back. Again, I'm not inciting anything. I'm just talking about pattern recognition, history repeating itself, and the likelihood of certain things happening again, or certain sentiments bubbling up. And you can look at what happened with Luigi Mangione, for example, and the effect that had, and people being really like, do you know what, he's kind of almost like a Robin Hood, because now the people who've been abusing the system and lining their own pockets and not and basically killing people, right? Denying people life-saving care. Now they're scared, right? And now they hopefully will make some changes. So it's that sort of thing. And I was going back to the stock market and saying we're going to see some changes to financial things. You can see with like Elon Musk and the price of Tesla, or Nvidia, or there were so many different companies that were affected by, for example, the tariffs, where the stock price absolutely bombed. And obviously I think a lot of people had insider tips on that. not naming names. I don't have insider information other than what my spirit guides tell me. Maybe that counts. I don't know. I didn't make any investments. I wish I did. But yeah, people kind of buying up those share prices really, really low, and then you may be tweeting certain things or getting certain people to say a certain thing that would drive that stock price back up again. So a lot of people got very rich from that. A lot of people lost a lot of money. But, you know, you can really, really see how Pluto going into Aquarius, or Pluto leaving Capricorn and into Aquarius, we're seeing those real shake-ups happening. We're seeing changes happening. So let's see what my guides want to tell us. I want to start with a song. I'm getting very, very warm. The weather in the UK has been wild. Yeah, James is the band that sings Beautiful Beaches. So the name James could be relevant to somebody. Also, what's interesting, I wonder if I can show you this. There's a bit of a glare on my camera, but can you see this big eye that's on Spotify on the song Beautiful Beaches by James? It reminds me of a blue eye, which if you go to the Mediterranean, so I remember this from Greece and Turkey, they would have these glass blue eyes. They were kind of like a tourist thing, but they were also kind of like a traditional kind of thing that would ward off evil, like blue eyes being like the evil, right? Which, you know, I understand, like, yeah, do you know what? I've got blue eyes, but I can understand why that tradition might have occurred. Yeah, okay, let's see. So I'm just clearing the energy and dialing in. Give me a second. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry if you can hear my tummy rumbling like that. Again, I'm very lucky that I am able to eat. I had just before I started doing the reading, I had a massive bowl of kind of like spicy noodles, like ramen, and my own homemade bread, which I ate too much of, so I'm very bloated and my tummy is not a fan of spice and it's growling at me. So, but do you know what? Blessed that I was able to eat. So yeah, we're gonna celebrate my rumbling tummy today because it's rumbling for a good reason. You know, and I pray every day that everyone should have food, shelter, safety. Everyone, no matter what soil your feet touch, no matter what religion your parents believe, no matter what your politicians say, everyone deserves, you know, bread. Give us this day our daily bread, right? So what would Spirit like to talk about, please? Oh my God. Nothing Really Matters by Madonna. What's really interesting was I was planning on doing a reading a week or so ago. And India was coming through really, really strongly. I was listening to a lot of like sort of Indian EDM music, which are absolute bangers. And yeah, this song came through for that, which it's not funny. It's not funny at all, but it's strange to me because I knew that India was a message for the reading that I didn't do. And if you look at what's on the news, I'll tell you specifically, two things were coming through really, really strongly. I was getting India, and I've got a card in my own deck called the Whale. And I believe that the plane that crashed horrifically in India was a Boeing. And there is a certain type of Boeing plane called the Whale. And I was like, oh my God, because Whale came through not only from my own deck, but from other decks. It was constant whale, 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 whale. And I think my guides were trying to tell me, because I don't have a card that says plane, you know, a ship maybe, but so Whale was the closest card that my guides could feel that they could give to me. So yeah, India and Boeing, I think, is what they were trying to give to me. Which again, even if I had done that reading, I don't feel like anything would have been different. So I've been going through something where it's funny because nothing really matters, right? That's the song that's just come through. I've been kind of thinking to myself recently, what is the point of me doing these readings if nothing changes? If I believe that, because I do get messages, I do see the future, you know, in a very abstract way, but the things that come through always play out. And it's not a perfect communication tool, wherever these messages are coming from, wherever these visions and these things are coming from, they're not perfect. They are open to interpretation. But I did these readings for years. Like, for a lot of time, it was like these daily readings. And even though I act as this kind of seer, because I can see things, right? I can see things coming. They still happen. So then what is the point? Like, I believe that I'm in service of spirit or my guides. I believe that I am a mouthpiece for spirit to speak through. But if it's not helping, then why am I doing it? So this is my own personal crisis that I've been going through, which is why I haven't been doing so many readings. But it did feel like they wanted me to do a reading today. So the song that's come through is Nothing Really Matters by Madonna. Let me pull up the lyrics. Nothing really matters. She's nihilist and kind of depraved. When I was very young, nothing really mattered to me but making myself happy. I was the only one. Now that I am grown, everything's changed. I'll never be the same because of you. Nothing really matters. Love is all we need. That's the message. Everything I give you all comes back to me, which is what I was saying, right? It's exactly what I was saying. Let me just pull up these lyrics to kind of like show you. That is exactly what I was saying about when I gave £10 of my own money, because I felt so like that £10 that I'd found, which, you know, I believe spirit brings me money, and I gave, and I just felt like I'd wasted that £10 that was a gift from spirit. You know, I wish I'd been able to give it back to the person who'd lost it, but you never know. Maybe the person who lost it was a massive dick, right? Maybe they were greedy. Maybe they had invested in horrible things and that's how they got their money. I don't know where it came from, right? But spirit had given it to me. It was in front of me on the floor. And I had a choice of what to do with it. And I feel like I did the wrong thing with it. Maybe it was some sort of test from spirit. So I took £10 out of my own purse and put it in the guide dog. Which sounds funny when you don't understand that the guide dog is a collection box, but I just shoved it up the guide dog's ass. Sorry, dark humor. But yeah. And I was saying, like, you've got to think about your karma with that. Nothing really matters. And it's what I was saying about, like, you know, dancing in the face of injustice, you know, and looking after your neighbor, right? Love thy neighbor, look after your community. Love is all we need. Love is the only thing that matters. Nothing matters except love. So prioritize love. Instead of caring so much about money, care about love, right? It's like refocus. Nothing really matters. Love is all we need. The willow tree. The willow tree talks of grief, but it also talks about being resourceful. Willow is such a useful like, I don't know if willows are trees, like pussy willows, I don't know, but willow is such a useful plant. It can be used for so many different things. It's very, very flexible. It's very pliable. You can make baskets out of willow. You can make fences out of willow. It's also a living tree and it's very abundant. It grows and it grows and it grows, right? And when it grows, you can chop it down and replant it and it will continue to give. It gives and gives and gives. It's feminine. It talks about mother energy. It also it's very good at finding water. So a lot of the time the roots will kind of move towards rivers and streams and things like this and ponds, because it's a very pliable wood. It needs a lot of water, and it's very, very useful for like banking. So because the roots are so intricate kind of thing, they hold the mud together very, very well. So not only a willow tree is useful for keeping like embankments sturdy, but you can actually also use the willow to create kind of like a fence that you can put in the side of a riverbank, and it will hold the riverbank back and stop it being eroded and washed away. And so, yeah, it's a very, very useful plant. And the reason why I think they're talking about it is because it's so versatile, because it's so pliable. You know, what bends doesn't break. What doesn't bend does break, I think is the quote. So being flexible, bending, twisting, being adaptable, being creative with your money, perhaps investing your money into things that will give you return investments, could all be talked about by the willow tree. Is there anything else from my own deck that you'd like to talk about? Sorry, talking to my own guides. No, that's it for that. I want to go to the tea leaf tarot. No, I don't. I want to go, sorry, my guides are dragging me all over the place. I'm actually getting a deck out that I didn't have prepared. So we'll see. Do you want to give us an animal from this deck? Yes, okay. I didn't think they were going to give us anything. Look at that. It almost looks like, I think it's probably like bamboo, but the same with bamboo, right? It's a plant that grows very, very quickly, or is some kind of grass, perhaps. But yeah, as soon as I saw that, and I know there's a lizard here, and that's the focus of the card, but as soon as I saw this kind of grass, I connected it to this willow energy. With the dragonfly as well, it's really giving me kind of like riverbank energy. The first time I remember seeing a dragonfly when I was quite young was on a canal boat with my dad, and there was a huge dragonfly, and it was almost like it was flying in front of the canal boat, like it was leading us. So yeah, a really, really impressive moment. So I'm getting kind of like riverbank energy, or canal, or like it could be beaches, right? Beaches where there's some grassland, you know, there's some a lot of there's something about the dragonfly. I think the larva's born in quite stagnant water, like swampy water almost, if I remember correctly. So the dragonfly sometimes talks to me about coming from a difficult background. Again, if you think about this on Common People, you know, and the situation that the singer is talking about being in. One thing I love about that, though, my favourite line from that song is, "They burn so bright." These people who have struggled, right? They burn so bright. And the person who is in a position of privilege can only wonder why. Like, they don't understand why these people burn so bright. And there's something really poetic and beautiful about that line that always catches me. Also linking, because I did mention funerals, and linking back around to the willow tree, they're drawing my attention back to that. Yeah, the dragonfly is such a glorious, fantastic, beautiful, striking creature, and it does come from a kind of swampy start in life, so this could be relevant to somebody. It's 22, which I actually think I did see 22 when I was setting up for the reading, so 22 could be relevant if you're seeing patterns. Something could happen on the 22nd. It says truth transcends illusion. Eventually it always does. You can't handle the truth, right? You can't argue with the truth. The truth is a truth. A fact is a fact. And you can have some illusion around that. You can have an opinion that isn't true, but eventually the truth will always win, because the facts speak for themselves, you know. It's like the truth will out, is the way I'm hearing it. Lizard Spirit, dream the world into being. So the combination of these two cards, dream the world into being, but truth transcends illusion. There could be something about somebody who has been quite disconnected from reality, or has had, dream is coming through as like belief, right? You believe a certain thing, or you see the world in a certain way, and then you're kind of like hit with reality, or you hit with the truth. So it's somebody who's having a wake-up call, which again, that other song starts with the line, wake up, it's time to go. So someone's really being hit by a bit of a truth here. I feel like somebody's really What's that? The scales fall from off my eyes. I feel like I'm getting a lot of Bible quotes, which is interesting. They're going to this. Okay. So I feel like this is higher energy coming through now because I've been drawn to the, I think it's the Starseed deck. No, not talking yet. Okay. Sorry, my tummy's rumbling again. I'm sorry if that's an unpleasant sound. Yeah, okay. Pleasure. Sorry, everything's really fluffy all of a sudden. Pleasure. Six of Cups. Six of Cups in the tarot would normally talk about, it can talk about children, but it can also talk about nostalgia and also emotionally giving equally to people. Excuse me. Why is it coming out here though? I'm not quite sure where. I'm just looking for the book. Because this deck, the Mirror of the Soul deck, has quite interesting description. So I just want to read from the book for this. Sun in Scorpio. So somebody could have a Scorpio sun sign. Lust, enjoyment, pleasure in sexual relationships, rich exchange of sexual and heart energy, emotional renewal. So it's talking about I want to say loving, but also sexual, positive relationships with others, hopefully. The fear of disappointment has been overcome. Body and soul have been purified and are ready for pleasurable interaction with the beloved. The lotus flower opens, glowing with the powerful yellow-orange colour of awakened vitality. The cups are made of copper, the metal of internal healing. Looking closely, one notices the snakes coiled in each cup, symbolising the transformational power of sex when it is experienced naturally, not forced, if anyone needed to hear that. The overflowing emotions are pouring out of the blossoms into the cups whose bases are made of rare and valuable fruits. This card is an invitation to give yourself up to the richness of your own emotionality. You may experience this as a jump into the water, the tingling anticipation of diving deeply, or disappearing of letting go. Rising to the surface, you are refreshed. This is the process of death and rebirth, which is what I said at the beginning. The result of taking the risk is deep emotional purification and renewal. Indication: enjoy now all that life gives you. This is the best way to express your gratitude. So this is saying to me, don't feel guilty about what you have. Be grateful for it. So like I was saying about being in the supermarket and being grateful that I could afford food when I know there's so many people in the world who are going without. And I hate that feeling of feeling powerless, like there's nothing I can do about that. But I think sometimes we can feel guilty about it. Like, why should I have something when other people don't? And this is saying, rather than guilt, be thankful to spirit, be grateful. Allow that positive energy to flow through you so that you can give to others. Negative energy acts as a cage to empathy and to generosity. If we are in a fear state, we go inwards, and the energetic channels that flow to us, which can be material as well, they stagnate and they crumple. Where if you allow energy to flow through you, for example, I gave today, right? And I don't want to be kind of like all holier than thou or showing off about it. I'm only talking about it. I wasn't going to tell anyone. I haven't told my own family. The only reason I'm telling you about it is because I feel like Spirit was giving me a message that could be used for greater good, right? This spirit of generosity, helping out your neighbor, helping out the people around you, giving and being grateful for the ability to give. You know, I am thankful that, and I am in a position where, okay, I might not be abundant, but I have that little bit of extra to help people out. Recently as well, I was in a petrol station shop, and there was a woman having a bit of a breakdown on the phone because she'd gone to pay and her card had declined. And so I gave her some money. I asked her how much she owed, and I gave her £20. And I just kind of gave it her, and I was kind of like, just pay it forward, and kind of like ran off before she could protest too much. And I went back because I go to that little shop quite often, and the guy said, oh, she she's a bit of a scam artist. She comes in and she tries that all the time. And I was like, okay, but there must be a reason for it, because, you know, if you were really, really comfortable, right? If you didn't have to worry about money, you wouldn't feel the need to do something like that. You would just pay for what you've spent and move on. So if she's in a place where she feels like she has to try that on, she's probably struggling for money. And so I didn't regret giving it her, even though perhaps she because I figured she still needs it, right? And even though, like, it's that feeling of like, I know what it's like to have a bad day. I know what it's like to be in that situation where you go to pay and your card declines and you have to put stuff back. I know what it feels like to have someone help you out, you know, where, you know, on the bus, someone says, hey, don't worry, I've got that. I've got your ticket, which I've done for other people. Or, you know, just making life a little bit easier for somebody else. That pay it forward energy, I think, is a really, really beautiful thing to have, rather than being selfish. To just see another person struggling and think, I don't know what their situation is, but, you know, I know that I can help out in this moment. And a guy the other day as well, it happened again, and the card machines had gone down in the shop, and I went in because I pop in to buy snacks sometimes, like as I'm going past, and there was a guy who had a bottle of water in his hand, and I was like, if that's all you've got, I'll just pay for it, because it was cash only and I had cash on me. I was like, yeah, I'll pay for it. But the guy was like, no, it's okay, I know him, and I think he probably had petrol as well, so he probably owed more, and he was like, it's okay, we can sort it out tomorrow, kind of thing, for that guy. But it's that preparedness to help out the next person along. And I think as well, maybe there was a thing about the woman ignoring me in the supermarket where, you know, it's so easy to ignore people. It's so easy to turn away, or to, you know, put your head in the sand and pretend things aren't happening. And I'm not saying that I will always, you know, if people stop me in the street, I often don't have time for them, because there are so many people who harass you in the street, right? And you can't help everybody and you can't give to everybody. But I think sometimes spirit will put things in your path and you'll just know that that's the person that you can help that day. So this idea of kind of like, enjoy what you have, be grateful for what you have, but be willing to pay that forward, be willing to spread that to the people around you. Yeah, Thanatos is destruction. Okay, Thanatos is that kind of plutonic energy. It is an energy of death and destruction. But you can see here the spider web, which is talking about a community being destroyed, or connections being destroyed, or lifelines being destroyed. But Thanatos brings the energy of change, which this is what I was talking about Pluto being in Aquarius. I don't like this message, but it's the way it's coming through, so I'm going to pass it on to you. It's this energy of things have to get worse before they get better. No, I understand the message. Thank you. Sorry, spirits helping me to see. So what they're talking about here, because we've got dream the world into being and truth transcends illusion, is that sometimes we can sit in our own little comfortable bubble, right, where we're okay, you know, we go about our daily life without realizing the harsh realities of the world, and the world can be incredibly cruel. And so sometimes when we're brought into, because it's the mirror as well, when we're brought face to face with truth, when we see something clearly, and we can compare ourselves to others as well with that. So to say, I was really, really worried about some stupid little thing, right, that's inconsequential. Barbara called me a name at work today. She was a little bit passive aggressive, and I've been steaming about it all day. It's like, well, if that's the only thing you've got to worry about is someone making a rude comment to you, then you're really, really privileged, because there's people who are struggling. So it's this feeling of, I'm hearing disjointed. It's like jarring is the way it's coming through. I'm getting this kind of like disjointed, jarring energy of being faced with reality. Maybe it's just seeing things happening in the world, seeing things happening on social media, hearing stories about what people are going through, and being like, oh, I really see how privileged I am, actually. I actually really it could be like, again, with disillusion, there's a lot of stuff in the media that warps and distorts, right? The way that things are reported can often not be honest and truthful. It can be very one-sided, right? Sometimes the way that the news reports on things can be a very blinkered, distorted reporting on what's happening. It can be very one-sided. It can be very much like toe the party line, support the status quo. And then actually sometimes you see the other person's point of view, or you see the flip side with the mirror. It's like this reversal energy is the way it's coming through, when you say, oh, actually, the way I've been told this situation is not the reality of the situation. It's really coming through as like the scales are off my eyes with this. So yeah, I think a lot of us are having a bit of a wake-up call. Wake up, it's a beautiful morning. It's a different song to the one that had already come through, but it came through, so I said it. What did they say? Wake up, it's a beautiful morning. Something like sunshine before our eyes. Because so there's the eye reference again. So yeah, it's holding up a mirror to us. Not in a way where our reality is being destroyed, or our pleasure is under threat, but in a way where we can say, I'm grateful for what I have, and I want to spread this. Right, with the willow tree, it's like I want to, and the cobweb, it's like, how do I spread this thing that I have? And even if it's something small, and again, I'm not saying that you, the person watching, that you're not struggling to pay your food bills, or that you're not struggling to pay rent, or wondering, where your next paycheck's coming from. All these things that I think are designed to keep us trapped and stressed, and to dampen our energy, right? If you're struggling, if you're worried about your own immediate setting, it can be very, very hard to have empathy for those around you. And I think this is by design. I think this is intentional, by certain people who have power. Not everybody, but I think there's definitely I think there is definitely some strategy behind keeping people trapped and keeping people small. Okay, I need more. Okay, I'm going to go to... Wait, what do you want? Sorry, speaking to my guides. I think more from this deck. Hang on. It's a bit jumpy, this deck today. Yeah. This is something that's hidden. Completion. Something is being completed, but this is not common knowledge. Four of Wands. Some kind of milestones are being celebrated, but I want to say it's like behind the scenes. The reason I say it's hidden is because when a card flips like that, and it goes back in the deck, that's secret to me, that's hidden. So just that's the way my guides communicate with me. So I don't know what this is. I'm not like out here kind of spilling state secrets or anything like that, at least not knowingly, because I know anything like that, right? I only know what my guides are telling me. And I would say as well, hey, if you're a tyrannical leader with part of the 1% and you're evil and cruel and doing horrible things to people, I know that there's an afterlife. I know that there's life after death. I know that there's something beyond this material plane, because I've been shown it time and time again by my guides. They tell me things that I don't know that turn out to be true. And no matter what happens to me, there will be answers that you will have to do. If you're out there doing horrible things, you are racking up karma, and you will pay for it. Like, I would not be that stupid, right? Like, be a good person, you dumb fucks. Message from the universe. Anyway, Venus in Aries, completion, unity, possibility of new beginnings. This is what I'm saying. Death is new life. It's the flip side of the coin. What ends, and endings are beginnings. The circle is full, all contradictions and opposites come together and connect at the center. The harmony between male and female, active and passive, ram and dove, have returned. I would say the harmony between male and female. So again, you know, it's not hard to see that. How do I want to put this? Thank you. Okay. My degree is humanities. I've read a lot of politics. I've read a lot of history. I've read a lot of political speeches. I know the game, right? I know the game. I can see it a mile away. If I was some horrible person who ran a country, what would I do, right? If you were the leader of a company, maybe we are talking about the leader of a company. We'll find out. I don't know. I'm not thinking of anyone specific. I'm talking about the hypothetical. If I was the leader of a country or a company, and I wanted to destabilize another country, I would flood their social media with polarized or polarizing topics and basically fan the flames of that. Anything that I could exploit, I would exploit. So man versus woman, transgender versus traditional, liberal versus traditional, like what else as well have we seen? Black versus white. Anything where you can make something really, really polarized, you fan those flames, because what did Julius Caesar say? Divide and conquer. If you split a society, if a society is fractured, they're much, much easier to exploit, to dominate, to destabilize the politics. Look at two-party politics and what a mess that is. So this really polarized society and all these polarized topics within it are only helping those who would wish to do harm to a country. So why would the leaders promote this, right? Why would the leaders encourage this? Because if people are punching down, if people are punching their neighbor, they're not punching up, right? So who's really responsible for all the things that are bad in society? The people who make the law, the people who do the budgets, the people who rule, the people who are in charge, right? Who is the victim of all these things? The people, right? The people who don't have representation. And so if you want to do horrible things, you want to blame the people who can't defend themselves, or they can't defend themselves easily. So what this card is telling me, the harmony between male and female with this spider web and these hands connecting, it's talking about a fractured, especially with the fragment of the mirror, it's talking about a society that's been fractured because of these polarized topics coming back together, right? It's like glue, like my guides are funny. They're showing me, Terminator 2, the bad guy, when he's like, he's been shattered into pieces and then like the magnesium kind of comes back together. That's my guides making a joke. But yeah, this is talking about reforming those connections and bringing people back together. And the core of this is love, right? The core of this is maybe not the best quote to use at this moment, but the quote, if you prick us, do we not bleed, right? Those shared values that of we all need to eat, we all need somewhere to live, and we don't have to steal from each other to have those things. What we need to do is hold politicians, governments, people with money, lawmakers, people who do budgets accountable and say, hey, instead of wasting money on stupid things like blowing each other up, maybe we could build some fucking houses, you twats, So, sorry, my language gets strong sometimes. Sorry, not sorry. Okay, I'm a little bit sorry. Listen, if you were offended by me saying you twats in that moment, then you think I was talking about you. The people who don't have anything to be shameful about know that I was talking about somebody else. So if you're offended, you are the twat and you've just admitted it to yourself. And you're only angry at me because I'm the mirror, right? So I've just held up a mirror to your own twatty behavior. The fire of creativity is kindled by the occurrence. Venus, symbol of beauty and love, combines with Aries, the principle of new beginnings. The heart pushes forward and seeks the development of the beautiful in new directions. Before the new can arise, the old must be complete. The conflict between opposites must be resolved in a way which will further you on your way towards your highest goal. Excuse me. Tensions in relationships can work positively when the individuality of each partner is recognized and respected. You know who my spirit's talking to right now. I see you. And by you, I mean literal countries. This makes it possible for you to support one another in moving forwards, not destroying the whole world. Indications: something beautiful is making its way into your relationships. You may notice it first as established conditions are called into question and discussed openly. Clarifying the old is a prerequisite for a new oneness, a new beginning. Questions: are you prepared to accept your partner as he is in spite of your differences? What areas are in urgent need of clarification or resolution? It could be romantic relationships, but it could also be like business partners in terms of allies. A lot of different things. Okay, where are we going? My guides are on one. Yeah, the spirit's angry. There is this divine righteous anger that's coming through. Man, yeah, beware of great pride. There you go. The warning, peacock, beware of great pride. Psychic ability, trust your intuition. They're just really confirming. Right, what does the Bible say about pride? Probably not something good. It's probably not like, yeah, pride's great. I mean, maybe it is, right? If we're talking about LGBTQ plus, I think God loves love, you know? There's rainbows in the sky for a reason. Okay, come on. What are we talking about? Vulture. Depression, anxiety, worry that somebody is against you. Pass it over to Spirit. Spirit will handle it for you. Vultures are not bad. Vultures, like all animals, have a role to play. They're the cleanup crew, right? They clean the carcass so that we don't have like disease, right? Anything else? Bowl. Plenty of material things. There is enough to go around. Like, listen, the abundant universe provides. If we can stop blowing each other up and destroying things for a split second and just plant more fucking trees and fruit and plants, the world will be in a much, much better state, right? And there is enough land to grow enough produce and to sustain the entire population of the whole world. We just have to fucking cooperate and stop being assholes. Robbing from each other, you know? Resistance. Love it. That sort of talks about the earth resisting. There's like, the earth is resisting something. But like, viva the fucking resistance, right? Clarity. Good. The scales have fallen off our eyes. Boundaries. Yeah, you don't have to have your boundaries encroached upon. Strong boundaries are a good thing. It's good to share with our neighbors. It's good to be generous with our time, with our energy, with our money, with our resources. But we don't want to be taken advantage of also. So you can give with limits. You can be a good person, a loving person, and still have strong boundaries. Okay, let's find out what Spirit, how is Spirit supporting us at this time? Who is supporting us energetically? What is Spirit doing right now? Magician and the Mirror. Well, there's the Mirror again. The Magician can talk about illusion and distortion. Sometimes Spirit can trick us for our own good. If we knew something and we saw something clearly, perhaps we would take action and perhaps we would put ourselves in danger. So to protect us, the magician may sometimes deceive us to put us on a different path or give us a different direction. Strategy. Yeah, Spirit has a plan. Spirit has strategy. They know we have anxiety over this. I think it's really difficult to... I find it difficult to understand that everything happens for a reason. That the Earth, the planets, everything has a cycle. I don't think knowing that God has a plan is going to comfort the mother of a child who is starving. So I want to be really, really careful about what I'm saying here, because I don't want to be flippant or dismissive of the struggles and the pain and the cruelties that the world is seeing at this time. The cards are saying that there are some illusions in place that Spirit is doing intentionally to cloud our vision, or to have us not see something, to not see a truth, because this is their strategy. They need to get us where the Spirit needs us in place for something to happen. And if we could see clearly, that perhaps we wouldn't know. Like perhaps we would interfere, perhaps things wouldn't go according to plan. Spirit knows what it's doing, it has a plan. Which again does not comfort people who are currently in a bad situation. Double mission. Lightworker, starseed. My tummy's rumbling. Lightworker, starseed, serve the word by being you. And I am a person who probably has IBS because both my parents did, and I made a mistake eating spicy food, okay? That's who I am, world. Deal with it. Lightworker, starseed. You may believe that you're a lightworker. You may believe that you're a starseed. Again, the more good and light and positivity we can put into the world without being toxic. We don't want to deny that things are happening. We don't want to be, okay, they're giving me, again, this feels a little bit dark. They were giving me a line, I think from a Lana Del Rey song. They were giving me laughing in the face of danger. The energy that came with it was almost like satire, almost like the fool, right, mocking the tyrants. Because if those who are inclined to be tyrants wish, and again, I'm not saying any specific person, okay, don't come for me. If you thought it, that was your own thought. I didn't say it, right? If I said tyrant and you thought of a certain person, that's on you. I did not name names. That came entirely from your own brain. So if somebody is trying to be a bully or a tyrant, and this could be politically, it could be somebody in your own personal life, maybe it's a parent or a partner who is not a great person, right? And they're trying to control you, they're trying to bully you, they're trying to keep you small, control you. If they can keep you in a state of fear, you're easier to control. They've got you right where they want you. One thing that I love about European and specifically British culture is that we take the fucking piss. We have really dark humor and we make fun. We mock the shit out of the things that scare us, because it takes away some of the fear. It makes us laugh. It brings up our vibrational energy, and it disarms a lot of the power of the tyrant, because we're laughing in the face of danger, right? There's a kind of anarchy to it. There's a kind of rebelliousness to it. So it makes me think of Dad's Army, which my granddad used to really like. I think he had like some VHS, like some videos of Dad's Army. And so I remember the song, you know, Who do you think you are kidding, Mr. Hitler, when you think we're on the run? And it was like, you know, that other song as well, like, Hitler has only got one ball, the other is in the Albert Hall. So all these kind of like funny songs and chants and the ridicule and the satire and the comic strips, you know, that we've always had to kind of make fun of the ruling classes and the elite who are not doing the working people any favors. It's a tool of the people. Satire, dark humor, comedy, ridicule, it's all a tool of the people. Don't let them take it away from you. That is part of the resistance. Serve the world by being you. Again, this idea of like you have a purpose. The universe is working through you, right? And it doesn't have to be you going out doing charity work, or which if you do, that's great, that's amazing, or you going to a protest. It could just be your neighbor's having a really hard time of it, but you know how to make them laugh. I saw this brilliant TikTok, and it was I loved it so much. It was a woman who was having her foot amputated, which was not the funny thing, right? That was the serious, scary, horrible thing, that this poor woman was having her leg chopped off. But her friend turned up at the hospital in this big, like, costume foot. So, like, you know, like she came to the hospital dressed as the foot that her friend was having amputated, and it was so silly and it was so funny, and it was like the perfect thing to do in that moment, because laughter and comedy and humor really drags the vibrational energy right up. You know, it can turn a bad day into a good day. Excuse me. And so yeah, it was so funny. And then it turned out like she'd legally gone through some channels to kind of like get it so she could take her foot home, and her friends were dissecting her foot and like bleaching bones, and they were going to make some toe bone jewelry out of it. And it was taking a really horrible dark situation and turning it into something really good, because, you know, it like her friends were turning it into something funny and silly and light and something to almost look forward to in a weird way. So yeah, it's like it doesn't have to be that dramatic, right? It can just be pay for someone's bus ticket, or I don't know, buy your neighbor a chocolate bar that you know that they like if you know they're having a bad day. You know, I remember once in work, my tummy's really rumbly. The girl I worked with was having a bad day, and I knew she really liked Percy Pigs. So I went out on my lunchtime and I went and got her some Percy Pigs. So it's just that sort of thing, and it can really make a huge difference, at least energetically, and that's what the universe wants you to remember. And I know I've had this in a reading before where the universe was like, the world is scary, we're doom scrolling, you can be kind to the people around you, you can ring your mom, ring your best friend, you know, pet your dog, just do something nice for somebody else and it will lift your energy. Jump in, Andromedan energy, adventure, say yes to change. Things are changing. I've told you this for a long time. Told you so, right? It's been on my channel. I keep saying that Aquarius energy is the energy of change. Pluto is a transformational energy. Pluto in Aquarius means we're going to see big changes to political systems, and also anything affecting communities. So any kind of community programs, we're probably going to see a lot of stuff over the next, say, 20 years? I don't know how long Pluto's in Aquarius for. We're probably going to see a lot of kind of like grassroots schemes starting, a lot of kind of charity work happening, a lot of like socially conscious businesses being very successful at this time, because people are really starting to like stick together and think about their neighbor and think about each other. Good will come from the bad. So what is the song that you want to leave us with today? Getting one more song, guys. Sorry, sometimes I'm talking to spirit, sometimes I'm talking to myself, sometimes I'm talking to you. What is the final message, please? What are you leaving us with? Dirty Paws, Monsters and Men. Interesting. Monsters and Men. I'm just going to pull the lyrics up. Dirty Paws. I don't know where I got this from. This feels like something that my kid has been listening to. Jumping up and down the floor, my head is an animal. And once there was an animal. It had a son that mowed the lawn. The son was an okay guy. They had a pet dragonfly. I am not kidding. Look, this is crazy. So I'm randomizing Spotify songs. And yeah, I don't have any control over what comes up. This was genuinely what just randomized, and it genuinely says they had a pet dragonfly. And we have that dragonfly right here. The dragonfly, it ran away, but it came back with a story to say. Her dirty paws and furry coat. So it's weird because why would a dragonfly have paws and a coat? She ran down the forest slope, the forest of talking trees. They used to sing about the birds and the bees. The bees had declared a war. The sky wasn't big enough for them all. I mean, the spirit's saying that there's enough for everybody. We've already talked about that. The birds, they got help from below, from dirty paws and the creatures of snow. So for a while, things were cold. They were scared down in their holes. The forest that once was green was coloured black by those killing machines. But she and her furry friends, maybe you're all furries, I don't know, took down the queen bee and her men, and that's how the story goes. The story of the beast with those 4 dirty paws. Interesting. So make of that what you will, and that is where I'm going to leave this reading. I'm sorry to deny you all the sounds, the relaxing, harmonious sounds of my gurgling belly. As it tries to deal with the faintest bit of spice that I put in it because I'm British. I like dull beige food apparently. Yeah, that is pretty much where I'm going to leave it. Is there anything else, Spirit? I think we're done. Okay. I hope that was helpful. I hope it was somewhat reassuring. It was intended to be reassuring. I think the idea is because the world's a really scary place and it's really frustrating when we feel like we can't do anything to stop the bad things happening. But what we can do is be kind to our neighbours and help each other out. Another thing that they were giving me, which I think was designed to be advice for anyone who's like protesting, no matter what you're protesting. I'm talking about it now because they just flashed it up again. There was a song, I feel like it was a British song, and it was called Sit Down. Let me just pull it up. It's like, I sing myself to sleep. Sit down. And I was going crazy because it was driving me mad because it was 1990. Because it's by James. Oh, we've got 2 songs by James. Somebody could definitely be called James. Yeah, 2 songs by James. That's really interesting. And again, it was kind of like Britpop. But this song, it goes, oh, sit down, oh, sit down, oh, sit down next to me, sit down in sympathy. And I was like, I am sure in the 90s, when that song came on, we'd all sit on the floor and do like, like the rowboat. So it makes me think of, what's the other song where it's like, oops, upside your head, said, oops, upside your head. That was another one where you'd sit down on the floor in rows and you'd like hook your feet over the person in front of you, like, or around the person in front of you, as though you were in like a rowboat. Like, so you'd sit in a line and you do these like hand actions. So I remember doing it for Oops Upside Your Head. Like there was like dance moves through it, but I was like, I'm sure we used to sit down and do kind of like a rowing dance to sit down next to me. And everybody, like if you were in a pub, and pub floors were disgusting, but we're still like drunk out of our minds. And I was a kid, I was a teenager in the 90s, but shush. And we'd all sit down and wrap our legs around the person next to you, and we'd all sing and do these arm movements. Oh, sit down. And it was a song about having empathy and sympathy for the people around you and breaking down barriers. And I was thinking that would be such a great song for the protests, because not only are you sat down in rows, right? You can link your legs around the person. You know, sometimes they try and move you. So if everybody's in rows, you put your legs around the person in front. So you're kind of like giving people like a hug with your legs. So you're harder to move from that next person. But then use your arms to kind of like grip the person to the side of you. And you're basically making these chains in two different directions. And I thought that'd be really cool. Like if that's the song, because if you're all singing this song about peace and love and acceptance and you're all linked together, one, it's a peaceful protest, and two, you're going to be difficult to move, right? So I don't know, but it says, the bit that I love about this song is it says, those who feel the breath of sadness sit down next to me. So it's like making space for people, right? Those who find they're touched by madness sit down next to me. Those who find themselves ridiculous sit down next to me. In love, in fear, in hate, in tears. In love and fear and hate and tears. In love and it's a really uplifting song about just having sympathy for your neighbour and accepting people and finding all these things in common. You know, if you've ever been scared, if you've ever felt hate, if you've ever cried, sit down next to me. So it's like those, put your hand up if you've ever... you know, that kind of thing. So I love this kind of common ground of the common people, and the messages that are coming through from Spirit are very, very hopeful, and I want to pass that on to you as reassurance, but also because it's empowering to know that there is stuff that we can do. There's that excuse me, I feel like I've got spice up the back of my nose now. Maybe that's something as well, I don't know. Don't do drugs, boys and girls, it's not good for you. But there's that quote from the movie Ants, right? Where he says, what is it? I don't know, I've seen it on TikTok a few times. Let me just pull up the speech. Ants speech film. It's like just one ant, right? Hang on, I'm pulling up Reddit. I'm gonna have to watch it. Give me a sec. Actually, do you know what? Whatever. Let's put it on.
There was that ant that stood up to me.
Yeah, but we can forget about him.
Yeah, it was just one ant. One ant.
Yeah, you're right. It's just one ant.
Yeah, boss, they're puny.
Puny? Say, let's pretend this grain is a puny little ant.
Did that hurt?
Nope.
Well, how about this one? Are you kidding?
Well, how about this?
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay?
So yeah, are you an ant? We outnumber them 100 to 1. I was talking about the 1%. I don't know, man. Again, not to say that just because someone has money means that they're a bad person, not in any way, shape or form, but should the elite class be making decisions that affect the common people without consulting the common people? Should they directly go against what the common people want? I don't know, it seems a bit risky to me, man. I will see you again soon. Take care of your faces. Bye, friends.